Olympia gang, rejoice, because Treyarch just added the Olympia into Call of Duty Zombies for the first time since Black Ops 2, and it's by far the most elite weapon currently in the game. The Olympia was added in as the final Beavis and Butthead XP event, and today we're going to be taking it up against every single enemy type currently in the game, including all 5 of the main Easter egg boss fights, and trust me, you're going to want to see how it performs. But first, don't forget to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more Call of Duty Zombies content, as it really helps these videos reach the YouTube algorithm. With that out of the way, let's get into the weapon guide. It's kind of unbelievable to think about, but the last time we saw the Olympia in a Treyarch Zombies game was all the way back in 2013 in Black Ops 2. We're all familiar with the culture war that's existed since between the M14 and Olympia gang. I've always considered myself M14 gang, but after today, I'd like to renounce my affiliation and switch sides to the Olympia gang, because the Black Ops 6 version is not only the best version of the Olympia we've ever seen, it's one of the best bullet weapons of all time, period. The modern day Olympia is classified as a special weapon despite it really being a shotgun, and even though it might not seem like it's that great when you first load in, due to having to reload it every few seconds, trust me, it's actually one of the most powerful base weapons in the game. And before we talk about how it performs Pack-a-Punch, and believe me, you'll want to stick around for its hidden ability, there are certain attachments and augments you're going to want to equip prior loading into the game to help it reach its full potential. The Olympia has 2 available attachments, the short barrel and the cutoff stock. Now personally, I'd really only run the cutoff stock for better handling. The short barrel does output extra damage, but you basically have to be shoving it up the zombie's ass in order to get the extra damage increase, which is really tough to do in higher rounds and nearly impossible to use in boss fights. So for me personally, I would just stick with only using the cutoff stock. Now the 2 Perca-Cola augments that are a must when using the Olympia are double standard for double tap to double the damage dealt by body shots, and classic formula, which decreases your weapon reload speeds. The Olympia is pretty solid without these, but they're what separate it from being an S tier weapon to being the best weapon in the game. Now for some good and bad news regarding the Pack-a-Punch version of the weapon. The bad news is it's no longer called the Hades. Treyarch has instead opted for it to be called Pluto. Now the good news is Treyarch has given it Dragon's Breath just like the OG Pack version once it's upgraded, so anyone freaking out about it not having an attachment mod for Dragon's Breath, don't worry, it comes built in, which is great attention to detail by whoever coded this thing. Now let's get into how it performs against all of the enemy types currently in the game. If you guys are new to these weapon guides, we always start off with the regular zombies, armored zombies, work our way up through the specials onto the elites, and then all the way to the main boss fights. So starting with regular zombies, everyone always gets on me about not testing these to the max round and always using hidden power and perkaholic and when I do the Easter eggs, but for one singular game, I took it all the way up to round 55 on Liberty Falls. I can confidently say this thing is a one-shot on regular zombies all the way up past the health cap, as well as a 2-shot to armored zombies. So for the majority, if not all of your game, you're going to have no problem slaying regular enemies with this gun. It's super, super good. The handling is amazing. It'll absolutely blow through zombies. It'll blow through armored zombies. It does, I'd say, start to fall off a little bit, probably in like the early to mid 40s, which is a little bit higher than what any other bullet weapon will currently do for you in the game. So it is better there. But yeah, once you get past the damage cap, it starts to still one-shot zombies, but because it takes like 2-3 shots to get armored zombies, depending upon where you hit them, it does become noticeably worse at 55, but it's still arguably, in my opinion, the best bullet weapon in the game. Now moving on to the special zombies, we're going to start with the Mangler. This thing is disgusting against Manglers. Even when it is low rarity, low Pack-a-Punch tiers, it still absolutely fries. I'd say you definitely want to be hitting their cannon the entire time you use this thing. You can get away with one-tapping them to the head until the 30s, but shooting them in the cannon will guarantee a one-shot into the 40s. So the Manglers are literally no match for you. So if you're playing Terminus, if you're playing Liberty Falls, this is the main gun that you're going to want to run for probably the rest of the year. I don't see anything getting better than this to use against the Manglers. And moving on to the Doppelgasts over on Citadel Deore, these are actually a little bit harder to hit with this weapon because you definitely want to be hitting their crit spot at any chance that you can get. It's the same thing with any zombie, any armored zombie, any elite zombie. You want to be doing the most damage to them in their critical spots. Doppelgast, because they kind of bounce around and they jolt back and forth very quickly, it is tough to hit. But once you get this thing to about like Pack 2 blue rarity or Pack 2 purple rarity, you should be 1 to 2 tapping these all the way up just like you do with the Manglers. Not really much of a challenge, but on the lower rounds it can be a little bit tough. The last one we're going to cover is the regular shock mimics over on the Tomb. These things are no match for the Olympia. Even when it's not like at a high rarity, it's still going to fry through these things. This is the easiest, I'd say, of the 3 to hit their critical spot because their entire mouth is literally just massive damage points. super good. Doesn't matter what rarity you have. This thing is going to absolutely destroy the mimics over on the tomb. And moving on to the elite zombies, we're going to move back to Terminus and Citadel for the amalgam. I gotta be honest, I'd say this is probably the one that it performs the weakest on until it's triple Pack-a-Punch legendary rarity. It will be really, really good up until the health cap against the amalgams on the higher rounds. It just seems like when it's not fully rarityed out and fully Pack-a-Punched up with a specific augment or ammo type to really go hard on the amalgams, it doesn't perform as well. I actually think it's better to just hip fire them rather than aim down your sight and go for the critical spots. For whatever reason, like the pellet spread is a little bit bigger if you don't ADS, and that actually helps against the amalgams. It's still really, really good. It's still one of the best guns to use against the amalgams, but yeah, definitely upgrade these as fast as you can if you're playing Terminus, Citadel Deore to any map with amalgams, and honestly, don't really try to aim for their heads. Just try to hip fire to their heads because the spread is going to be really good for you. Now moving back over to Liberty Falls, I would say the Abomination probably is the weakest to the Olympia out of all 3 elites that are currently in the game. Obviously, you want to be aiming for their 3 mouths to do the most critical damage. If you're shooting like their back or the side of their head and you don't get full crit damage, it can take a while to kill the Abominations. But if you're hitting their heads the entire time, if you're constantly upgrading this weapon, it's going to be good for you all the way up until the 40s when it starts to fall off a little bit, I'd say, with the regular zombies, but you'll start to notice it with the Abominations. But it's still, by far, if you're hitting your shots, one of, if not the best bullet weapons to use against these guys. Now for the last elite zombie, we have the Elder Disciple on Shattered Veil, and I think this one might be the strongest against the Olympia out of all 3 elites. Again, once you get it to pack 3 legendary rarity, even in the 30s, even in like the 40s, it's going to absolutely shred through this guy. But for whatever reason, they are pretty weak, even when you get the armor knocked off of them on the lower rounds. When you don't have this thing at least like double Pack-a-Punched, I'd say like maybe purple rarity is a little bit weak. This seems like it's really, really good against the zombies in the lower rounds. Against the elites, you really have to level it up a little bit for it to be super, super good. But once it is leveled up, it's going to be good until pretty much you just want to stop playing the game. Now, I don't know if you could run this as like your secondary weapon if you're doing a high round strategy. I think I'd still stick with the melees because you do have Ether Shroud with Void Sheath. But this is very, very viable for running any Easter egg that you want to run. Just playing with your friends, this is easily the best gun in the game once you get it leveled up, especially for the elites. It does struggle a tiny bit. I think that's how they've balanced it very well here, because if it just blew away the elites right out of the get-go, there'd be no reason to run any other weapon. So it is actually really cool to see them kind of give it like a really strong ability, especially with Dragon's Breath going against the main zombies and the armored zombies off the rip, but you do have to level it up and kind of play with it a little bit before you can get it to a point where it's going to just blow away all of the elite zombies. Now moving into the main Easter egg boss fights, this is probably what you're all here for, and I know Patient 13 has become the punching bag of boss fights for us as we have really scaled throughout the year and gotten double tap and better weapons and all that stuff. Dude, this thing absolutely melts Patient 13, pretty much just about as good as any other weapon we've had this entire year, including the drill charge. This thing absolutely fries in phase 1, in phase 3, in phase 2. It doesn't matter. He's no match for the Olympia. You absolutely fry him up. Obviously, you have to have different elemental damage for different states of the boss fight. So if you're playing with 3 or 4 people and you all have individual ammo mods for each stage, you're going to absolutely fry through this guy, even in solo, man. I brought in, I think I was running Napalm Burst, and in phase 1, if I had just sat there and shot off, it would have been no problems. I cleared phase 1 in maybe like 10-15 seconds. It was nothing. I think phase 2 is probably the hardest phase if you don't have the required ammo mod for it, because it does take a while to not only break his head and then go after his tentacles, and by a while I mean like maybe 20-30 seconds. It did feel a little bit longer than phases 1 and 3, but yeah, Patient 13, absolute joke of a boss fight with the Olympia. I don't know if they're going to buff Patient 13 at any point. It seems like they're just maybe comfortable with kind of leaving him how he is, and that being like the fun boss fight that we can just beat and destroy now with all the OP stuff that we have in the game. But yeah, no surprises here. The Olympia absolutely shreds. Moving on over to the Liberty Falls lockdown. Again, this thing just absolutely fries the regular manglers inside of the boss fight. Once you get to the elite HVT manglers, it doesn't matter. It's still going to fry them. It's like a 1-2 tap in the boss fight, even into the mid to late 20s. It's disgusting. It's so OP. And then when you get to the Abomination, as I mentioned earlier, as long as you're hitting the critical spots, it's like a 2 to 3 tap on the abominations. It might not be as good as the Essex model going for those headshots because you can 2-tap them with it, but if you can get your crit shots and you get the perfect lineup here, you should be able to 2-3 tap the final abomination, no problem. And again, it's just crazy to see the difference between launch when most of the weapons were like good but not good enough to blow through these boss fights, at least Terminus and Liberty Falls, but now we have all these OP tools just to see how crazy and how easy it is to just blow through these boss fights and make kind of a joke of them. So yeah, first 2 boss fights, absolutely no problem. Olympia is going to be your S+ tier weapon in these first 2 maps. Now moving on to Citadel, I was a little bit scared that this wasn't going to be very good, and to be fair, it does struggle a little bit when you're cracking the armor, especially in the beginning phase. Once you get through the armor, you start to do some mass damage to the Guardian, but if you bring in Free Fire, I think you might be able to one-phase this boss fight. I don't know if it's possible. I'll have to do some more testing. We'll have to see, but I got through phase 1 into phase 2. I popped Free Fire, and the ability to not have to reload, I was able to get through phase 2 and phase 3 all in like 15 seconds. I mean, you guys have seen the gameplay here. I absolutely destroyed him. I was so shocked, especially with how the first stage went, where it was like good but not great. But as soon as I got into that next phase with Free Fire, it became an absolute schmelter. This thing absolutely fucked him up. Now, Treyarch, if you're watching this, please don't take that as a, hey, we should nerf this. Guys, it's July. We're going into Season 5 here very shortly. We're going to the last map of the game. We want to have some fun. We want to use some OP things against the boss fight. Obviously, the drill charge is a glitch. This, I don't think, is a glitch. I think you should absolutely keep this in the game, especially for people that are going to use something like a gobble gum in order to achieve this level of destruction. So, Treyarch, if you're listening, please do not nerf this weapon. Do not stop it from being able to 1-phase, 2-phase this boss fight. Just let it happen. Patient 13's already punching bag. It's now July. We're getting towards the end of this game. Just let us have our fun. This thing destroys in Citadel Deore. Moving on over to the Tomb, this is one that actually people were really excited to see how it was going to perform, especially with a slow reload speed. I gotta be honest, we have 2 things here. We have the golden armor plates I tried and the main boss fight. Starting with the golden armor plates, probably the best weapon to use against the elite HVTs that spawn in for golden armor plates. They're free with this gun. Obviously, you got to be a little bit careful because if you are getting up close and personal with some of these elites, they can kind of sneak up on you if they like 2-3 hit you, or if one of the mimics grab you. It can be a little bit tough, but as long as you're moving and you've got triple armor, there should be no reason that you die with the Olympia. It's so good. It was so quick to get through golden armor plates. I feel like this is like a joke now from going from the first time where I booted up and tried to get golden armor plates to now where I just absolutely flew through it. It was amazing. Cooked up both of them. Obviously equipped the necessary ammo mods to help further the damage done to the elite HVTs. But yeah, golden armor plates, super easy to get with the Olympia. Now moving into the Citadel artifact boss fight, this is very lethal if you're paying attention and making sure that you just are not having a lapse in judgment at any point in time. The reason why I say this is because I got to one of the stages where I was destroying the Citadel artifact and I didn't immediately start shooting at it, and because of the slow reload speed, I wasn't able to get all 3 of the Citadel artifacts broken, which led me to extend the boss fight just a little bit. So just really be paying attention to what you're doing. I would say shoot the bottom of the Citadel artifacts if you're using this. Don't shoot like the normal middle part of it, because the pellet spread actually will kind of go to the side a little bit, and you'll have to, have some close calls getting it broken before the next stage. So aim for the bottom of the Citadel artifact. Once you get through that and get to the elite HVTs, unbelievable. Blows them away, every single one of them. I think some of the other weapons that have been really good for this boss fight throughout the year have like struggled against the armored zombies or done really good against like the amalgam and the mimic and the doppelgas that spawn during this stage. But there are other weapons that are bad against the armored and then good against those, or good against the armor, bad against... This is good against everything. It absolutely blows through the armored zombie, blows through the other elite HVT. This thing is just absolutely nuts. It's broken. So much fun to use in the Tomb. You do have to be paying attention to what you're doing, but it's just, again, all across the boards and every single one of the boss fights so far, it's been amazing. Moving into our last map, we have the Xerex on Shattered Veil, and I think this is the worst boss fight to use this weapon against. It's still very viable. I was able to get through it without a ray gun at all, which is a huge accomplishment, because most of the weapons in this game are not strong enough to get you through this entire boss fight without having like a Mark II on hand to help either do some damage or be the main weapon you use. I was able to get through it, although because it's the Olympia, the damage range isn't as good. I'd say once you get to the final 2 stages and it's mostly just his ribcage, you can actually get some mass damage hit, but the first 2 stages of the boss fight are a little bit tough, trying to hit his eyeballs and trying to get his rib cages to proc, so you got to be a little bit careful, but to be honest, it was able to get through the boss fight with relatively no problems, which I can't say that about like 95% of the weapons in this game. So all across the boards, this weapon, the Olympia, is one of, if not the best weapons of all time. It's good for everything in the game. There are a little bit of things that like it struggles with, whether it's taking down the elites on lower rounds or like the Xerex boss fight, but overall I think they've done an incredible job by balancing it slightly, but also making this a very good weapon to use right away. I'm super happy that they came out with this weapon being OP, because I feel like Shatter Blast and Frost Blast have been pretty lackluster in the most recent updates, so giving us a weapon that's fun to use, iconic, and really OP is really nice to see out of Treyarch, and it's really nice and refreshing, and it gets the people hyped to go and do the Beavis and Butthead event and unlock this weapon and go use it for themselves. And I hope Treyarch doesn't nerf anything about this. Just please don't. It's fun. People love it. We're having a good time with it. It's July, like I mentioned earlier. We don't need to be making nerfs to this weapon. If it was something that was bugged or broken or glitched, like, I understand that, but this is like, you've done a good job balancing it already with the way that it works. If you're not using gobblegums, like, just let it be. Let's have some fun with it. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the Olympia in the comments below. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, check out our podcast, a link in the description below to that if you want to see us interview Stanley, Donuts, DK Dynamite, Fajardi, others. We're excited about it. We're having a good time. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Stay safe, stay hydrated. Peace.